Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today. We're going to just go over some recent ACA legislation, hopefully demystify it, keep it simple as we go through this, and hopefully bring everyone up to date of where things are at, what's changed, and what hadn't changed. My name is Greg West. I'm one of the account managers here at Infinity Benefit Solutions. And with that, we'll get started. The agenda today we'll go through is first kind of a high-level general overview. We'll look at some of the important recent changes. We'll also review some significant provisions that haven't changed. Several of you may already be aware of that. And then we'll cover some specific details to the provisions, and then also just some additional options for your employees to keep those in mind as we go down the road. And then lastly, again, there will be questions because this is recorded. On the last slide, we'll also have, along with my name, all the contact information as far as phone number, fax number, and email. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us and with any questions that you might have. So as we start off with the general information, first and probably foremost, the Affordable Care Act is still the law. It's still in place. There are some provisions that have been changed and or delayed, but the enforcement priorities have somewhat shifted. Again, employers must continue to comply with all the applicable provisions of the law or risk penalties as it has been in the past. There is some current legislation that's out there that's up on the screen here for you. It's filed by about 20 states, and in December, a federal judge ruled that the entire ACA was no longer valid, although there had been a previous one that said it was valid. The results of this are not expected to actually come to finalization until sometime after the election in November, so it'll be sometime after that. And then along with that line that the current administration is not defending the lawsuit. This is something that's out there. A lot of people, when this came up, assumed maybe the ACA was no longer applicable, but it still is. Again, just some of the provisions have changed. Again, some of the general overview. Hasn't been fully repealed. It's still a lot of those are in place. Only some of the taxes and fees of the ACA have been fully repealed. We'll get into those in just a minute. And then the ACA reporting for groups have not been eliminated. Some timeframes for submitting were extended as they've had this year. They extended those a little bit, but they are still required requirement for employers. One of the big things that's been talked about and it kept getting delayed is the Cadillac tax. But President Trump did sign in 2019 a spending bill that fully repeals that and get into a little bit more of that. But that was on really high cost insurance coverage. The health insurance provider's fee, although this did not apply in 2019, we have seen it for employers this year in 2020. So that did apply on some of those rate increases that we saw. The spending resolution fully repeals this fee beginning next year in 2021. So it'll be back out. It wasn't in 19, it's in 20, but it'll be back out again, which is good in 2021. And then the tax requiring health coverage. Previously, Congress did pass a bill that eliminated the penalties for an individual not having to qualify for health coverage beginning in 2019. But again, the reporting piece has not gone away. So that's still a part of something you want to keep in mind. The reporting is still there that needs to be done. Part of the individual mandate, again, in the repeal, there was a Tax Cut and Jobs Act reduced the ACA's individual mandate to zero. So the provisions still exist, except that now there's just no penalty. So as we saw this year, individuals technically don't need to file that form when they're filing their taxes, and or if they didn't have health insurance, there's not going to be a penalty to that for this 2019 tax year. Again, the Cadillac tax, going into a little more detail, it was just an excise tax that they were looking on to help fund part of the ACA down the road. It kept getting delayed and pushed off. There was a spending resolution that delayed it until 2022, and then just most recently here, it was finally permanently repealed. So that piece is now gone and will not take effect. The pay or play rules still in effect for the applicable large employers. Again, 50 or more during the prior calendar year. All of those penalties and triggers are still in effect. Those have not changed. So you want to pay special attention to those, that hasn't changed. And then again, which I think most of you know, that any full-time employee, if they get a subsidy for coverage through the exchange, that could trigger a penalty for the group. So you always want to be aware and be on top of those. Significant provisions that haven't changed. The extension for transition relief for non-ACA plans, again, goes through 2020. There's no repeal so far that's included the reporting provisions. So as I mentioned earlier, all the reporting is still required and still needs to be done by employers. Same thing with open enrollment and special enrollment periods. For applying and terminating coverage, all of those situations are still in effect. The laws have not changed for that, so all of those still apply as we go forward. And the employer shared responsibility provision also is still in effect for those 50 and up large employers. So you've got the minimum value they have to have for full-time employees, along with the minimum essential coverage. We'll get in a little bit of details on both those here in just a second also. Again, reporting details, the 1095s still need to be filed. 1095Cs for the large employers, again, those still have to be filed with the IRS. So none of those provisions have changed. Again, even though it's not required for individual to have that for their taxes, the employer part, those pieces of the law have not changed. So some specific details provisions. Again, the employer shared responsibility still in effect, so it needs to be affordable, which means for the lowest cost plan that you have for the employee portion that the employee is paying only cannot exceed that 9.78% of the employee's household income. You have to have the minimum essential coverage, the basics. Since the ACA went into effect, the hospitalization, outpatient, maternity, mental health, substance abuse, prescription, rehabilitative, and the pediatric pieces have to be in there. And then also the metal values, same thing, are still in there. So the plan at the bare bones minimum has to pick up 60% of the cost of the covered benefits. Again, all of those are still in play. COBRA and state continuation laws have also not changed. So if the employee has coverage that terminated, they still have the above options, as well as looking to the marketplace, which is still an available option for them. Once the employee selects COBRA or state continuation, they're not allowed to move to an individual marketplace plan. Want to be especially aware of this as an employer, to advise the employees until there's an open enrollment period. They can't just drop one of those coverages once they've decided to take that in possibly the middle of a situation and then decide to drop it. At that stage, they wouldn't be able to get onto the marketplace. So just want to make sure they're aware of those situations. Again, with the ACA insurance penalty no longer in effect for 2019 going forward, an employee that's retiring or leaving could go without health coverage. Wouldn't highly recommend that, but that is an option they have now without getting penalized. But we do have a resource focused on individual types of coverages that can assist in these type of situations, whether it's individual and or Medicare, and within Infinity Benefit Solutions. That person is Ken Marsh, and his email address is right here on the bottom of this slide for you. And with that, if there's any questions, again, with my contact information below here, please don't hesitate to reach out, contact us, whatever is most convenient for you. We're here to help in any way that we can. Thank you so much again for joining today.